Hey guys, how we doing? It's Richie, the Jordan Patrick Show, and I wanted to hit on the situation in New York that's going to be ever evolving regarding the retirement of Dave Gettleman, the general manager, which is more or less being fired. Really, they gave him some dignity on the way out, and the firing of second-year head coach Joe Judge. There's a lot of layers to this, a lot of layers to this failure, so to speak. First and foremost, I was actually shocked that the Giants ownership did fire Joe Judge, considering that they still owe this man 3 seasons of pay. Previous coach Pat Shermer is going to continue to be paid until the new fiscal NFL football season. He also was recently fired by his newer employer, the Denver Broncos. He was their OC. To sum up the Dave Gettleman era, I will say that I believe that he fell into a bowl of shit, so to speak, in terms of how the organization was left when two-time Super Bowl winning GM Jerry Reese was there. I'm not into taking away any accomplishments that Reese did, but I do believe that in Jerry Reese's case, he inherited a great situation left behind by Ernie Accorsi. If you look at the 2007 New York Football Giants, Ernie Accorsi's fingerprints are all over that roster. Oddly enough, I do believe that Jerry Reese's very first draft, which was 2007, was actually his best one. He got guys, Aaron Ross, Ahmad Bradshaw, Steve Smith, Kevin Boss, to name a few, that were big-time contributors to the Giants' 2007 upset over the New England Patriots, the previously undefeated Patriots. In Gettleman's case, he did not inherit a good situation. But whether it's fair or not, I think what he's ultimately going to be remembered for is dropping the ball, taking Saquon Barkley as early as he did. And it's no insult to the potential of what Saquon Barkley could be as a football player. Hindsight's always 2020, but when you could have had the best guard currently in the NFL at that pick, and then possibly either gotten Lamar Jackson or Nick Chubb in that draft, I do believe that looking back at it, he did poorly, because we ended up drafting Will Hernandez with our second pick, and Nick Chubb was right behind him. So most definitely we probably could have gotten Nick Chubb. I understand that the buzz around Saquon was real, and Saquon is potentially could be a generational talent. But, until they fix the offensive line, and that is really the undoing of Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman promised the Giants fan base hog mollies, which essentially are beast of the O-line, and that never materialized. I feel that it was a half-hearted effort when Eli was still hanging on as the quarterback, and it carried over to Daniel Jones. As far as ownership goes, while I do believe that it's been proven that Joe Judge was in over his head, I don't believe that the organization did any favors for a first-time head coach when you have a former head coach kind of undermining what you're doing and kind of babysitting, so to speak, the offense. Because most Giant fans, or just football fans in general, would probably agree that Daniel Jones' first year with Pat Shermer calling the plays versus his second year or his last 2 years rather, with Jason Garrett calling the plays, there's a vast difference. He has not regained that form of his rookie year. And while, there's a lot of blame to go around. Organizationally, things don't just fall down because of one player or one decision. But I am a firm believer that if you're going to pay a man to do a job, you got to let him do it his way. And having someone like Jason Garrett and even his playbook left behind after they fired him, because that's not Freddie Kitchens' playbook just yet, I feel like the New York Giants essentially we're in babysitting mode of Daniel Jones and not just letting him fling it and just believe more in his own natural abilities. This is going to be a very pivotal draft for the New York Giants. A very pass rusher, edge rusher, linebacker / offensive line driven draft. If Daniel Jones is healthy enough to play, I believe that he's going to get one final shot next year. But I do think there's a distinct possibility that the New York Giants can go outside and try to get a veteran stopgap to, at minimum, push DJ and possibly take his job while looking for their quarterback of the future in the 2023 draft. Head coach Joe Judge, at this time last year, had a lot of New York Giant fans believing that things were changing. And I think one of his better qualities was that he was indeed a player's coach. And the team did play very hard under him last year, even when they were going through their own COVID issues or injuries. But this year, unfortunately, it was proven more or less on a week-to-week basis, even in games that the Giants were fortunate enough to win, that he was constantly being outcoached by pretty much everybody. I think the final nail in the coffin was his two ridiculous plays in the Washington game, not showing any kind of testicular fortitude, and basically deciding that he was going to punt going into second and third down and ultimately punting on fourth. And the real nail was the 11-minute rant where I feel he was throwing people under the bus. He was taking shots, indirect shots at certain coaches that didn't deserve that. And it's certainly not the way the Giants want to be perceived around the league or do business. I think the Giants are viewed as a rather classy organization. But moving forward, it's going to be very interesting to see where the GM search goes. I think it would behoove the Giants to do what they don't normally do and go away from the typical Giant mantra of promoting from within. I think the right man for the job may very well be outside the building. Years ago, the Giants commonly promoted from within, but I believe that a big part of the Giant culture, what made them great back in the 80s and 90s, was that they had guys like Parcells, Belichick, who were essentially like having two head coaches, Tom Coughlin, who later won the Super Bowl with the New York Giants. He was an assistant during those years. When New England took Bill Parcells, even though Belichick will be most credited with most of their success and the longest dynasty ever, longest relevance really in professional football, I believe that a lot of the principles that made the New York Giants a phenomenal team went along over to Gillette. I really do believe that. And you cannot recreate history. I think the Giants have to adapt to the times. And I think the Giants need to find their way now. And I'm very thankful that Joe Judge was fired, because I really did not believe that this was going to happen about 48 hours ago. I think the fan base has really spoken. And I also believe that Steve Tisch had a big role, who was the 49% owner, versus John Mara, who was the 51% owner of the franchise. I do believe he was in his ear. There were a lot of interesting candidates for both head coach and general manager. And I look forward to getting into more of this, because I myself as a fan am still kind of processing what they did, because I didn't expect it. I thought they were going to do the typical thing, take the yes man safe route. And I am hoping as a fan and as a true believer that, the Giants will be back again. I know this is an outraged fan base, but since 1986, which is the first year the Giants appeared and won a Super Bowl, only the New England Patriots have been to or won more. And there's a reason why the expectations are high, and there's a reason why people are upset, because, quite frankly, as one of my Facebook friends, Sash Jensen, would say, this is not Giants pride. I appreciate you listening. I hope I wasn't too boring because I am specifically talking about one team that not necessarily all of our viewers care about, but the New York Giants are dear to my heart, my favorite team, and I've been a fan for so many years, and I've seen the ups and the downs. So I really hope that we do indeed turn it around. But I think, you know, they took one giant step, so to speak, in getting rid of two very big mistakes. I do wish Coach Judge well. I don't necessarily think that he had the best chance to succeed, given the man who was calling the plays and given the health of the team. Um, he's a young guy, and you never want to see people lose their jobs. Being a head coach in the largest media market in the world is just not easy. But I do feel that he was never really set up for success, and I also think that that plays a hand in this. But no, he was not the right man for the job, and I do believe that the Giants are going to get it right this time. Have a great day, everyone. I'm going to get ready for work. Take care.